Kurt, I thought you said that you were working on a new set. What gives, man? Boom. Welcome back. This is going to be the new set. I have a little bit more lighting to do. I've got some lights on order on the way. I couldn't really figure out how to light it until I got into the new space. So it was a requirement to just go for it and move. So you'll see it evolve as it evolves. And for a good icebreaker today, here you go.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Let go! Whoa! Kill someone else!
That's a spicy one there, folks. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if they're a uniformed police officer, an ICE agent, other federal agent, soldier, or just a random person on the street. You do not grab their weapon unless they are someone who is actively perpetrating a crime, like an active shooter or something like that. Then obviously those rules go out the window. But generally speaking, you never grab somebody's weapon, because what you do by grabbing that weapon is display your intent to take it from them. Even though that was never going to happen in this case, they don't know that. All they feel is the resistance, and they can't read your mind. All they know is I've got exterior force, somebody's trying to take this weapon from me. In this case, it's a less than lethal launcher. That doesn't mean that it can't be lethal. But if it had been a regular rifle, pistol, shotgun, it's irrelevant. You grabbed for the weapon, you gave the external stimuli of that weapon trying to be taken from. Because here's the other thing about that. Protracted unconsciousness. Any weapon can become a lethal weapon. If you take that launcher from him and crack him over the head in the right spot, even though he's got a helmet on, there's a chance of extreme bodily harm or death. So, and if consciousness is lost, then it is assumed that the ramification of that being defenseless could be death following. So the general rule is, as someone who has attended, I can confidently say, thousands of hours of self-defense training over the course of my career, that if someone is trying to take your weapon from you, then you have a right to give it right back to them at the operational velocity that it produces. So don't do that stuff. This dude, it looks to me like he got off pretty easy, all things considered. It looks like he walked away from the incident in that he wasn't arrested. Obviously, we can't see the rest of the video, but it looks to me like he wasn't arrested. He's going to have a spicy afternoon, probably. He might have got his bell rung, but if it had been a real weapon, then it could have been much, much worse. You absolutely cannot do this sort of thing.
Shame! 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 Shame!
This is the aftermath of the incident that is flooding the airwaves right now, and we're going to do an analysis of the video that resulted in the death of a woman in Minneapolis. Now would be the time where I would normally run a sponsor slot, but given the gravity of the situation, I think that it's probably a little bit inappropriate to do that, so we're going to refrain from doing that today, but it does provide an opportunity for me to remind you that you should be carrying medical equipment wherever you go. You're much more likely to use your medical equipment than your firearm in self-defense. We have a discount code at Medical Gear Outfitters. You can use that to great effect. I'll have it listed in all the relevant places, but that's as far as I'm willing to go today. Quick heads up, folks. 10-second warning. Anybody in the room, including yourself that may be sensitive, should look away now. There will be language, and there may be some scenes that are disturbing to some folks. This is going to play uncensored. You have been warned. Now I'm going to react to this video. As the video opens, we see 3 vehicles in frame, some people milling around in the middle of the street. All 3 of these vehicles are in the middle of the street. The lead vehicle is pulled slightly to the port, but definitely in the middle of the street. Appears to be off. The second vehicle appears to be more perpendicularly oriented in the street. It appears to be on. The third vehicle seems to have been fed up with this and is trying to get around whatever is going on there in the street. We then see a fourth vehicle, move into the frame. Agents get out of that vehicle and order the driver of that vehicle to get out of the vehicle. We don't know the circumstances here, although the inferences that could be drawn from this appears, at least from the outside looking in with the absence of any other information, that these vehicles are in some way trying to block the street to impede the movement of the officers in the vehicle that stopped. There are 3 agents in this video, one of which you cannot see. The one on the farthest left is providing cover for the one that is opening the door, and then the third agent is either positioning himself in front of the vehicle to prevent it from fleeing or going to the passenger side for the purposes of getting a different perspective. If there's anybody else in the vehicle, are there any weapons in the car, that sort of thing. They intend to take this woman out of her vehicle. Then the critical point happens. Somewhere in the space of those 2 activities, the driver of the vehicle hits the accelerator. You can see the tires spin. The rear officer in front of the vehicle, whether he was on the way to the other side or had positioned himself in front, sees the tires spin. The agent, seeing those tires turn, pulls his weapon and proceeds to discharge. We see some glass dust as he shoots through the windshield, and he continues to discharge his weapon as the car goes by. Here's the thing. I'm not going to get super into the weeds on this. Whether it's a good shoot or bad shoot, there will be a huge investigation about that. But he did not draw his pistol until those tires turned. That vehicle weighs a couple thousand pounds. It is absolutely a lethal weapon. It could be argued that he perceived that it was being used against him in that manner, and he sought to prevent that from happening. The next thing I'm going to say are things that I do not necessarily agree with, but are facts. Law enforcement officers have a special status. They are agents of the government, and therefore they have a monopoly on violence. I don't agree with that in most instances. However, if you are committing a felony, then an officer has the capacity to use lethal force to stop you from fleeing. If he perceived that he was going to be struck by this vehicle and that this person was going to hit him or somebody else, that's an aggravated battery. That is a felony. And that is something that could constitute the use of lethal force. Also, I'd like to talk to you about the whole concept of qualified immunity, which is that a public official or law enforcement official cannot be held liable for activities that they have undertaken while in their official capacity. I don't agree with that. I think that they should be held to a higher standard, not a looser standard than everybody else. But the fact of the matter is that that concept is designed to prevent frivolous litigation. Is this going to be frivolous litigation? Well, I'm going to tell you right now that we haven't seen the last of this, and it is going to devolve into something over the course of the next couple days, weeks, and months that's not going to be great. I reserve my judgment in this situation until we see all the rest of the evidence. The video is what the video is. How is it handled? And what is the fallout from that? Remains to be seen. The last thing I'm going to say today is something that I usually reserve for speaking in jest or in a more lighthearted context, but I think it's applicable here. And that is that most problems that you receive in life are the result of actions that you have taken, that you've gone out to seek. 9 out of 10 problems that come up in life are avoidable. And in this instance, I think that the 5 stupids apply. Remember, Don't go stupid places with stupid people to do stupid things at stupid times of the day for stupid reasons. Regardless of the outcome of this woman is dead, and it was entirely avoidable by all parties involved. I want to know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Thanks for tuning into the VSO Gun Channel. Add your commentary and tell me if I'm on or off base. How will this be used in the future, and is there any good or bad coming down the pipe from it? Thanks.